It's one thing to graduate from a famous business school, but quite another to use alumni for your own funding. We're on location in Cambridge with Michael Schraeder of Vaxess, and welcome to the Language of Business.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
You graduated from Harvard Business School in 2012, but started the company in 2011. What did you do when you were a student?
So we saw the 2 years of business school as a great opportunity to actually launch a company and take advantage of the wonderful resources that were presented to us. Everything from classes that would provide us with, obviously learning opportunities, to the Harvard iLab, which is actually a physical incubator space for startups, to all kinds of faculty who are in the space and could serve us as advisors or other mentors and mentees along the way. And believe it or not, we actually won about $160,000 in funding from various competitions throughout the time there. So it was actually a perfect ecosystem to try and launch something new.
And who are the we?
Yeah, so we had a 4-person founding team, and we're certainly odd in the biotech world. So I'm a mechanical engineer. I worked in the auto industry actually for about 7 years prior to going back to business school. And I'm joined by a chemist, a public policy major who previously worked for the United Nations, and a lawyer who has a physics undergrad. So not exactly your typical founding team for a company in the vaccine space.
All HBS MBA students, or just United at that time?
United at that time, ironically, in an HBS class called Commercializing Science, which is really aimed at bringing together diverse students from different schools. So law school, School of Chemistry, and Kennedy School of Government in addition to the business school.
How did you make the change from being an engineer to being a business person?
Yeah, it's been rocky. I think the ability to kind of hand over your baby and delegate and allow other people to actually push forward development of a product has been a really challenging transition to me. And I think the difference in skill sets from doing one thing and doing it incredibly well to trying to be able to do a broad spectrum of things, it's been a bit of a rough transition at times, but thankfully I've got a great support team here that's made it possible.
If you had to re-engineer the entire launch from start to finish again, what would you have done differently?
We got excited about a certain technology, and we were really focused on technology. And I think if I could go back in time, I think we would focus more on the problem that we're aiming to solve rather than the technology itself. So rather than just pitching this cool technology, let's make sure we're solving a real world problem and focusing our efforts on solving the problem using the technology to do that. So that's probably the main change I'd make.
What's it like getting funding from a fellow alumnus?
So the irony, of course, is I go to business school, you hear about the great network, and it provided a ton for us. This particular investor actually came through an odd introduction through my wife's boss's high school friend, so completely out of the route way to get there. But I think what was nice is obviously we had kind of a common language that we could talk as we went through that fundraising process. So I think it definitely made the process a lot smoother. Of course, the irony is the introduction came completely out of left field.
HBS is renowned for its alumni database. How did that help you along the way?
As you go through this entrepreneurial journey, HBS does a great job of teaching you a lot of the high-level skills and how to think strategically about the path forward. HBS doesn't necessarily give you any of the tools to do the day-to-day operations. So having a couple mentors that could talk to you about the logistics of fundraising, logistics of payroll, operations, things like that, I would say that's the biggest benefit. And I've got a couple folks in particular that have just been remarkable as we've gone down this road.
Could you tell us what Vaxess does and give us a product demonstration, please?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we're really trying to be a solutions company at this point. So we have 2 platforms. The first is a platform that allows us to stabilize really, really unsensitive compounds. So take vaccines, take biospecimens like blood, for example, for diagnostics, maybe other drugs, and we have a simple patented means of drying them into a very stable format, take away the need for refrigeration at a very high level. What's really fun is that we can process these into not only stable formats, but also very functional formats. So we basically can process them into a traditional vial, which is used in the pharmaceutical industry very heavily today. But alternatively, and our newest work is actually based on some MIT technology that works to process it into a very small microneedle patch for vaccine delivery. And the concept here is essentially this patch has an array of very small needles that are actually made of a particular protein loaded with the vaccine that can simply be pressed onto the skin. Those needles dissolve and deliver the drug or vaccine directly into the skin. Now what's fun about it is not only is that nice convenience play because we're replacing needle and syringe, more excitingly for us, we've shown dramatic efficacy enhancements with this product we hope will allow us to enable the next generation vaccines for challenging targets. Take for example herpes or malaria, HIV, as well as cancer vaccines, which are actually designed to fight cancer as opposed to simply preventing it, which is what we typically think of when we think of vaccines.
And your last two products?
Yeah, so at our core, what's exciting about this is all of this is based on a natural protein that is derived from silk. The same silk you think of in textile industry, linens, bed sheets. It turns out that silk fibers themselves, while we know that they're remarkable for their kind of textile properties, we know they're remarkably strong, it turns out they're fantastic as a biopolymer as well that we can use to enable all these pretty remarkable solutions.
The average MBA program doesn't talk about vaccines and silk, etc. How did you pick up this knowledge along the way?
Yeah, so this all gets back to that concept of having wonderful mentors to help guide. So our original advisors, for example, we had a mentor from the School of Public Health. Barry Bloom was a wonderful immunologist. We had two professors from Tufts University who are experts in the silk protein, David Kaplan, Fiorenzo Minetto. We had a number of advisors that were vaccine experts. So George Sieber is renowned for his vaccine work as an example. And all these folks are willing to come support us, sacrifice their time to help us push this forward because of the amazing global health impact it could have.
Michael, thank you.
It's been my pleasure.
Michael Schraeder here with Vaxess, on location in Cambridge.